Yeah, so even a draw tomorrow could do that.
But the additional goal is if you're in a chance to get 2 home playoff games, you want that.
Right. I mean, if we just draw tomorrow and Seattle loses to San Jose, that's huge help.
The nice thing
draw can do it.
The nice thing about being in second place, too, is stop me if I'm incorrect on this, but I think second place, we'd be on the other side of the bracket from LAFC,
that's
right?
because it is a bracket, and that's why I'm saying you line yourself up for potentially 2 home playoff games.
Yeah, you don't. Second place is a very good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, you drop to 4th, and you're playing that 5th spot, and that's a pretty decent team.
Yeah,
and so as we sit here looking at the standings, I mean, regardless of where Minnesota falls in the next 2 weeks, or I don't say fall, but I mean lands, I should say, wherever their seed is there any teams looking at 6 through 7 or 8? I guess you could say. Well, who would you like to face?
I don't want to face San Jose because they've been our punching bag.
They have.
Well, and how about Portland? We could possibly be seeing Portland for the 4th time this year.
Portland has revenge against us now because we've dealt with them pretty well.
They're pissed off.
It's got to be like Dallas. I mean, wouldn't they be most
Dallas
ideal?
Dallas is the team that I would prefer.
At Allianz Field, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, because even Salt Lake, they played us very well. I want to be in second with FC Dallas coming to Minnesota. Mm-hmm. That's the prime matchup.
And we'll have more of a playoff picture after tomorrow night's games.
Right, which will be interesting because our next podcast is going to line up with the playoff game. So we'll have to do it before a playoff game.
We will. But we're going to have to do some. Before we get on to anything else, guys, it
would most likely be the weekend before the playoffs start.
Yeah. We're gonna, of course, the playoffs upcoming. We're gonna have some switching to do around about when we do our podcasts and things. So you'll see a little bit of a different schedule than we usually have. But we're gonna try to get as many podcasts in as we possibly can to get these games kind of in the flow. So let's get off playoff talk for a little bit, guys. Let's get on to player salaries.
Mm. And this just dropped. Was it yesterday?
Just dropped
as we're recording.
Yeah. And this,
I don't think there was a lot. There was one surprise.
David was really pissed off about one.
I don't think there was a whole lot of surprise other than the one.
Okay, let's
our new Loons, I guess, is what we really want to focus on here.
Let's clarify. The entirety of Loons Nation, minus Dave, and the one guy that I got into it on Twitter with over the week, are upset about a particular salary.
Well, to clarify, I mean, I might be a bit of a lewd backer. I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah.
However,
as Dave Hintz said,
you're a looter?
A loader. But whatever you want to call it. Now, I myself was shocked to see his salary. If you would have asked me before it came out, predict his salary, I probably would have predicted less than half of what he's being compensated this year.
It's shocking. I mean, Jeff Reuter on Twitter actually put 6 exclamation points after his salary.
Well,
because he should have. I mean, it deserves about 10.
So you're telling me he is the second most highly compensated player.
Exactly.
As far as guaranteed salary,
which is ridiculous.
On the Loons, only second to, of course, Darwin Quintero.
$952,000 and change.
That's just crazy.
It's outrageous.
Put that in comparison to say, let's just bring out, talking about some of the other new guys. You look at Vito Minone. I mean, goalkeeper, maybe that's different, but $594,000.
Yeah.
Roman Metnier, $411,000. One of my favorites, Jan Gregus, has a nice salary, but still less at $883,000. So bottom line is, he of all the Loons newcomers, he's on the list.
I mean,
top of the list.
You look at it and you go, Ozzy and Ike make less than Robin Lute do, and those guys are the key to our team this year.
Well, maybe we should after the season is talk about the how different the team is, of course, and talk about the impact of some of these newcomers. But I mean, I think you can make arguments, and I've seen certain lists on Twitter of ranking who's made the biggest impact, and that's up for debate. But
I think though,
I will admit that obviously I would not put Robin Lute at the top of that list or anywhere near the top.
And what's funny is opinions of his play aside, I wouldn't even contemplate him being paid that much. I mean, even if he's doing well, I wouldn't fathom it.
No. Didn't Reuter give a shout out to his agent?
Yeah, yes. I think he did. Yes, he did.
I think he did because it's a good point because he did a hell of a job.
I mean, he's basically bringing in a La Liga 2 salary into MLS.
Yes.
I mean, that might actually might be a little high for La Liga 2.
It's flipping nuts.
Yeah.
But then again, you go back to the point of we've seen him now start how many games in a row?
Right.
So he's trying to get his money out of him.
Well, you've got a situation where the FO saying, we're paying him $1 million.
Yep.
You better
play him.
Put him on the pitch. Mm-hmm. Which, we've brought that up, I think, or I've brought that up in the past, I think, for other players.
Wasn't Gomez like that too? Wasn't he making a ton of money, and that's why he was on
Calvo,
the pitch?
I brought that up with.
Yeah, Calvo too, yeah.
And it's never an argument you want to make, but this is a business.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And you don't want your expensive players sitting on the bench.
Of course not. It's just like every other sports team. I mean, every other sports league, you don't want your expensive guy sitting on the bench.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but that was the biggest thing from the salary.
I'd like to point out Molino. I feel like he got a raise.
You think so?
I mean, $546,000. I feel like he was higher than that last year, but maybe not. I mean, lower than that last year, but maybe not. I could be wrong. I mean, ultimately, I look at these salaries, and they're pretty healthy salaries.
They are.
I mean, for a small market in Major League Soccer.
Well,
yeah, I
we're
think
spending a lot of money.
Was the old? Yeah, I mean, they're pushing $10 million.
Yeah,
they're 8 or 9 at least. So
I mean, Maguire should be making money from the stadium now,
and it just goes. Yeah. I think it just goes to show you. I think when I first sat down and looked at these numbers, it just goes to show you what it has to show you the importance of TAM and GAM.
Yeah,
and how you manipulate those salaries, and with of course you get a few designated player slots, but even with those 3 slots, you still have a lot of maneuvering that you need to do to bring these numbers down below what I think is around 500,000.
I mean, I would like to point out that I think Darwin's salary at 1.7 is way too high.
Yeah,
I mean, even at his best day, I think it's way too high.
Yeah, but
for an MLS.
So the question then so maybe we want to talk about his option, whether you pick it up or not, or we can save that for another time. But if you don't, you need to. I mean, how do you replace that?
Well, you got to replace it with $1.2 million worth of stuff.
No, I guess the point is, can you replace somebody of his quality with that? You're going to have to spend more to replace that quality.
No, you should be.
Well, I mean, theoretically,
attacking midfielder like that. I mean,
well, that's why you're paying Chacon a bunch of money.
Well, yes, but
he's getting paid $333,000.
I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, if they think Chacon's ready to come in and start every game next year, then maybe you let it go. But you still.
But smart teams do that.
Yeah.
I mean, smart teams do that all over professional sports. You got a guy who's making $1.2 million like DQ. He's on the last legs potentially. You bring in a young guy and hope that you can.
It's true. If they don't pick up his option, it'll be a little frustrating on me. Just because I think coming out of the U.S. Open final where he didn't start, I think a fire was lit under him. I mean, we've seen significantly better play. Now it's always been that way. He's streaky, I know, but we've seen what he can do in the last few games.
And I think that speaks volumes to Adrian Heath's methods of handling his players.
Yep.
A lot of people get upset with sitting a player that the fans like.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
It works. Mm-hmm. For him, it does.
For some players.
For him, it does. For some players, it does.
And I think we'll probably touch on. I think the options have to be handed out in mid-November. I think.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll definitely talk on this more. But I think there's Chacon's existence pulls all of that into question.
It does. Any more soccer talk you guys want to get into? Anything else?
Well, are we going to talk about the Independent Sports Council?
Oh, yes,
meeting?
right.
Yes.
You got to talk about
that is soccer related.
That's just quickly. So MLS met with the Independent Supporters Council,
yep,
and have decided to remove the ban on iron front symbolism. Suspend it.
Yes.
For the rest of the year.
Yeah, and they also agreed to bring in those independent voices regarding the language they have in the code of conduct, which
smart.
Honestly, I've always supported the movement to lift the ban. I had absolutely zero expectation Major League Soccer was going to listen to it at all. Well, so I'm impressed. I'm
smart move on their part.
Yeah,
smart move. You didn't want, like I said in my text message, you didn't want this hanging over the rest of the year into the playoffs.
Right.
You didn't, especially if Portland's going to have if they had a home game. Could you imagine?
Right.
I mean, it'd be a shit show.
Yeah, I think it was very, very smart of MLS to kick the can down the road. Say, all right, fine, we're gonna suspend this stuff. We agree to bring in some groups to help us deal with this in the off season. It's not technically a victory for the supporters groups,
not yet,
but it's a good step.
Yeah,
and I was just happy to see that, regardless of what MLS thinks about what their atmosphere at games should be like, I'm just glad to see that they met. The supporters groups and MLS or met or had the conference call. I'm glad they met. I'm glad they were at least able to open up the discussion going forward,
and to kind of put a stop to it for this season, at least. Which is what they should have done in the first place.
Well, yeah, and they know how important that supporters group culture is to the MLS.
Yeah, exactly.
And soccer in general. It's huge.
And, I think what's interesting is what probably fueled this, in my opinion, is that, Garber comes from the NFL. Obviously, he's been in Major League Soccer for a very long time now. But NFL fans, they kind of just do what they're told.
Yeah, they don't give a shit.
I mean, it's just like the NFL's been around for 100 years.
Yeah,
fans just go through the motions and do what's expected.
That's right.
Well,
and soccer is new. It's very vibrant, socially. It draws a ton from European influence.
You don't have supporters groups in the NFL.
Yeah, and I just think Garber, even though he's been dealing with this now for 2 decades, right? I think he's about that. I don't think he realized what he was up against with this. No, and I get why they did it, but I just don't think they completely understood what was going to happen.
And I think it's a good. I mean, it sounds odd to say, but the MLS is a young league. You reference, the NFL, and whether you're talking about the NFL or Major League Baseball, it's MLS is very young.
Right,
and not only that, though, MLS is in an extremely exciting period as we sit here right now because the growth is massive. You
don't want to
slow it down.
Don't want to do it.
You need to look at what is fueling that growth.
That's right.
And I'm struggling to come up with a term, but it's certainly the supporters culture, that atmosphere that is creating the atmosphere inside of those stadiums that people who maybe aren't even big soccer fans, they go into that stadium for the first time, they experience the Wonderwall here in Minnesota, and they're like, wow, that is a large part of the growth.
Yeah,
and you don't want to hinder that.
I took two of my neighbors to the U.S. Open Cup
we're there.
match.
Yep.
And I still have one of them. Just last night I was hanging out with him. He kept talking about how it's just different being there.
It is.
He's like, I can never watch a game on TV, but he's like, being in the stadium and the atmosphere, he said it's just different.
It's a whole living experience. It's really what it is. It's the stadium as a whole. I mean, the Wonderwall is an organism, but the stadium also feeds off that as well.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of everybody else doing things and chanting and things like that.
Exactly.
And it's so different than any other major league sport that I've been to.
And it was smart, and it goes all back. It was smart for MLS to say, what, we need to make sure we don't lose that for the rest of the season. And so, congratulations to ISC and the supporters
Great
for,
job.
having their voices heard, being ballsy enough to challenge the league. And
Did you think they weren't going to be ballsy? Come on. Supporters groups are never. So
it was. Yeah, I mean, it was just nice that after having Jen and Corey and
Jen, Corey. Who else was there? Zach was there.
Jen, Corey, and Zach.
Yeah.
Just after learning and hearing.
Zach.
Yeah, sorry. But after learning a little more about it and hearing about the meetings that were going even on in between, between MNUFC and the Wonderwall, after hearing that side of it, it was just nice to hear the outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
So